So we have seen conditional expressions or conditional statements in Python, how to use the if condition. So let's continue the next concept, which is called looping. Now, before we go into the syntax of looping and the types of looping in Python, let's try to understand first what is the need for looping. Not in Python or in general any programming language, what is the requirement to have looping statements. Now let's take a small example. Let's say the question is you have to print the string hello. Uh, it keep taking input from user, and every time user enters anything else other than the letter N, you have to print hello. And this should keep on repeating unless the user does not enter the letter N. You have to keep printing hello. Now, if we try to implement this using only conditional statements, so I will take the user choice uh, using the input function. I will compare is the choice equal to N. If it is not equal to N, I'll print hello. Now this will execute once. The question says print hello until the user enters N. That means till he keeps on, you have to keep asking the user for his choice again and again. You have to keep printing the string hello again and again. So I can repeat it. I say I'll repeat the whole thing again. So I'll again take the user input, again do the comparison, again print hello if it is not in. The question is how many times do I repeat this code? So if I this is going to execute once, twice, thrice, and the program will stop. Now this is not going to keep on asking the user input continuously. It will only ask as many times as you print type this part of the code. So I can type it once more. So one, two, three, four. Only four times it will ask for user input. But what we want is here it has to keep on repeating infinitely till the user does not enter the value n. And that is not possible only by using the if condition. So what is required is you put this part into a loop. Okay, so you take this much part of the code and ask your program to repeat this. Okay, we want to repeat this. Now, while we are repeating it, we will exit from this repetition when this statement becomes false. Okay, so when this statement becomes true, that is, if you what user has entered is not equal to n, we'll repeat it. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we keep taking the input, and every time we take the input we print only if this choice is not equal to n. Fine. So this is one how do we put it into a syntax, we'll see that. Right, we will not require if condition, then we'll put something else that is a different part of the syntax, but you can see what is the need for the looping. So we want to repeat primarily this one string. Want to repeat only this. Okay, keep repeating this as long as the input from here is not equal to n. So this has to be repeated. Primary requirement is repeat this, but the question is repeat how many times. Fine. So that question is being asked here. Is it not equal to n? Then print. But the point is how many times do you take the input and how many times do you ask this question? So because if condition is executed only once, this much part of the code is going to execute only once. But what we want is they should keep on repeating as long as the user does not enter the value n, it should keep on repeating. So what we'll do, we'll take this statement, we'll take this statement, put it into a single block, okay, make it into a block of code and ask it to repeat this over and over again. And before we enter this block, we'll put a condition. Okay, so if the user entered is not equal to n, only then enter it. If what user has entered is n, will not enter this and will not execute the print statement. Okay, if the say, don't worry about the syntax part of it. We'll come back to that later. Fine. That's one requirement of looping where we have to repeat something based on a user input. Right. Now, maybe this here we are depending the repetition on the input from the user. We don't know how many times we have to repeat it. We just want to keep repeating it as long as this user input is not equal to when. Now let's say the question is something else. Print hello 1,000 times. All right. So the statement is pretty straightforward. You have to print the statement hello 1,000 times. So do we do something like this? Print hello, print hello, print hello, print hello, print hello. Do we write a program where we put this print statement 1,000 times? Logically, yes, we can. It will work. But practically speaking, that does not make sense, right? So why would you want to repeat the same line of code 1,000 times? So what you would do is you would ask your program to repeat this one line of code 1,000 times again and again. Okay, so you take one block of code and you start from the beginning of the line and go till the end and do this repetition n number of times, and would depend on what program you're writing and how your program requires a repetition. Fine. So the looping can be of two types. One, the when the count is known, you know how many times you want to repeat it. So here I know the repetition is 1,000 times. Second, looping is based on a condition, which we saw the previous case where the looping was based on what the user gave an input as. Fine. So generally speaking, when you have a count based looping, normally speaking, you would use something called as a for loop. When you have a condition based looping, you will use something called as a while loop. Okay, the syntax of it and how we use it in Python will come to that, don't worry, right? So one possibility of repeating a statement or a part of code is based on a condition. So we can repeat something based on as long as certain condition is not true or false. Second is we can repeat something n number of times. Same block of code keeps on repeating over and over again till this count n is not reached. Like here we want to repeat 1,000 times, so we'll start from one, keep repeating this one line of code till we reach a count of 1,000. So we don't need to write it 1,000 times. We will make the computer repeat it automatically by keeping track of how many times we've repeated it. So we repeat it once, remember it somewhere. Okay, once we did it. Repeat it twice, keep a count. Repeat it thrice, keep a count. So keep doing it same over and over till we reach 1,000 or whatever the end count is for your loop. So that is generally taken care by the for loop concept. Condition-based looping is taken care of the while loop concept. Okay, so we'll look at both of this, how syntax is available for these kinds of looping in Python and how they are implemented. Okay. Hope the looping requirement is clear because looping and conditional statements are the most basics of any programming. So once you understand these two concepts, you will be able to write a lot of programs. Even the most complicated programs eventually come down to understanding how what conditions to use and how the looping has to be implemented, right? So hopefully this basic looping part is clear. Thank you.